Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Reginal Drummer, the peopleologist, coming to you live on this powerful Sunday evening. Uh, as a contributing person over here at Square Mile Media, we just like to put our information out. And today it is about war, which is we are ready. Either we are ready or we ain't ready. And we always focus on those things that are necessary to put us, our families, and our communities into an offensive position when it comes down to battle. Because believe it or not, we are in a state of war at all times. You're battling something. But tonight, rather than talk about survival techniques, what to do in case of a hurricane, a pandemic, or a pandemonium, we're going to talk about something like voting rights. And recently, uh, I had the opportunity to continue my pilgrimage to Selma, Alabama. Selma, Alabama, a rural town, probably a little more than 200 miles from Atlanta. And I've been making that pilgrimage down there for the last 27 years. And believe it or not, every time I go down to Selma, I find something new because we talk about what's the significance of Selma. We see the movie Selma, the movie. Thanks for Oprah Winfrey for bringing that to the spotlight. But there's a lot that's happened in Selma that affects us today. Even when we talk about the selection of a Supreme Court justice, Miss Ketanji Brown Jackson, all that would not have happened if it were not for Selma, Alabama. But I want to put this out before I bring my special guest because he was able to get down there with us and show some footage and make some footage of people that were traveled down there with us. Over the past couple of years, we've taken hundreds of people down for the pilgrimage, whether it was with Fred King, Fred V. Man Watson, Brother Albert Love, or many others that we joined forces with. We made Selma ours. Okay, and I'm gonna say that again. We have made Selma ours, but I'm gonna bring in a producer, a activist as well, Mr. Zachary Simpson. Brother Zachary Simpson, are you there? How you
Yes, I
doing?
am, brother Reggie.
Woo! How you doing, my brother?
How you doing? Nice,
Man, I'm
nice
doing
seeing you.
great, brother.
Yeah, nice seeing you again since our pilgrimage.
It's good to be seen.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I know you got a lot of footage of a lot of young people because one of the things we have to do is we have to continue to show why Selma is important to us.
Hmm.
Because if someone else comes in and tells the story, they will leave us out, our heroes and our sheroes and the people that made things happen. But before I bring you in, I just want to put something out about Selma. Okay?
Yeah.
On February 18th, 1965, in Marion County, the county seat of Perry County, which is near Selma,
Hmm.
a state trooper shot and killed, well, he shot Jimmy Lee Jackson, a young African American man, during a nighttime demonstration for
Hmm.
voters' rights. After Jackson died of his wounds just over a week later in Selma, leaders called for a march to the state capitol, that's Montgomery,
Hmm.
to bring attention to the injustice of Jackson's death. The ongoing police violence, which is just like today, ongoing police violence, and the sweeping violation of African American civil rights. Now, on March the 6th, George Wallace, who's the governor,
Hmm.
Alabama's segregationist governor at the time, forbade the march. And he ordered state troopers to take whatever means necessary to prevent this march.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why we got what we call Bloody Sunday. When you see John Lewis and one of Atlanta owned Brother Larry Pratt and many others that
Mm-hmm.
were met on the Emmett uh, Pettus Bridge
Uh-huh.
with violence.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, they've been doing, led by the Honorable John Lewis and many others, a march in recognition of not just the death of Mr. Jackson, but also it spearheaded the march to Montgomery, which pushed then President Lyndon Baines Johnson
Mm-hmm.
in 1965 to approve the voters' rights thing. So that's
Mm-hmm.
where we are. But
Yeah,
anyway, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing fine. I that was enlightening for me. Your that statement you just gave, and yeah, I'm doing fine.
Oh, and tell the audience a little bit about yourself because uh, you do a lot when it comes down to documenting. Because unless we document our history
Yeah,
and preserve,
yeah,
no one's going to know
that's
what
right.
we did.
That's right.
Contributions is like a tree falling in the forest, and
That's right.
nobody know it that it happened.
That's right. Yeah, and that's kind of how I got started in video and why and video production. Because I was thinking to myself one day. I said, one of the difference in our image of us, our people, and the and others, especially white people, is that they have the media on their side. And anytime you see something in the media, or you read something in the media, or be it still or video or audio, then it magnifies it. It makes it bigger and grander to you. And I said we need to, see and hear more about self in the media, you know, and
Mm,
our perspective. Now it's not that this was not really going on, but for me, that's what I realized, and that's one of the reasons why I got involved in producing and activism, to the extent that I do.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And I know you gathered a lot of footage of us down there. Like I said, the first time my first introduction to Selma was through Eyes on the Prize.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw Eyes on the Prize, in the back of my head, I was like, man, I want to go down to Selma, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
But believe it or not, I had to work that night. I was
Mm-hmm.
working at the post office. I got off at 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, there's the brother that Fred King called me up and said, man, you want to go down to Selma, Alabama? And I said, yeah. So I slept all the way. And you gain an hour when you go to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I got down there, 10 o'clock, that was my first time going to Selma. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt the tension, because this is almost 30 years ago.
Okay. Yeah,
You
you
could
did.
feel
Yeah.
the racial tension like
Mm-hmm.
a knife.
Yeah.
There were people, and at that particular time, I had an opportunity to meet John Lewis. I met Martin. Well, I met Dexter King in the bathroom, and I
Mm-hmm.
met his brother probably a year later. Uh, and so Selma's always brought. And then there was a young lady that was killed. Her and two black gentlemen part of the freedom fighters. I think it's Liza Palooza. Well, I got to call the name right, but anyway, they were dedicating a memorial to her. SCLC. I also met Miss Lowry and Dr. Lowry. They were opening that up, and I had the opportunity of meeting her son.
So when you went
this
down,
was the woman.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the first time I went to Selma, so I had the opportunity of meeting her son, who was probably about 7 or 8 years old when they killed his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you got to think, because sometimes we don't think about the victims of violence, but when they killed his mother, you got to think they out of Detroit, Michigan. So in his family, they was like, well, your mother probably would be here if she hadn't gone down there and dipped her nose in somebody else's business.
Okay.
So this 7, 8-year-old young man was dealing with this on a regular basis. He said he went through some changes, he dealt with some things, and finally, when they did, he was 30 years old, or around 30-ish. But you can imagine how much hate had been put in his heart about who caused the death of his mother. And I think he came to tears when they made that memorial to his mother.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know,
yes, because he was killed on that highway.
Yeah, and you know that's why I go down, so that I might uncover and document some of those kind of stories, so that I can find out, you know, why people still go down, and so I can experience the energy and the history of the and of that situation down there. You know, I went down probably about 10 years ago, for the same reason. You know, I was on a show with you all a month ago, and you all mentioned going down there. I said, well, since y'all going, let me go down with y'all and document. You know, because I wanted to go down and follow you and document again that commemoration and to document you all's journey down there. And I'm glad I did.
Oh, yes. And you got a lot of footage. And like I said, every time I go down to Selma, I find something new that I did not know. Now, I knew Selma had a university, and they used to have a air base down in Selma, Alabama. But I did not know that they had an official HBCU in Selma, Alabama.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. It's one of the oldest HBCUs in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Selma University.
I remember you shared that with me. Yeah, you shared that with me.
So Selma, even though I've seen Selma change over the years, I've seen the when we first started going down to Selma, most of the activity took place on the east side of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it went through downtown. Okay. Now, after going down there for about 10 years, I think in 2008, that's when they started to put things across the bridge. They had the center, and you know, every year they dedicate something new. I think this year they dedicated a sculpture to Dr. King and Coretta King.
Well, you know, we couldn't get real close, but you and I were behind that crowd, and I was trying to stick my camera up there, if you remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that sculpture was in honor of Dr. King and Mrs. King. Yeah. Well, so every year they do something different. Well, this is why we have to maintain the historical significance of Selma when it comes down to Black people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because like I said, 30 years ago when I first went to Selma, And fast forward to now, one of the things that they're doing is they are redoing Selma.
Okay.
Okay. The churches that we went to a couple years ago, all those churches are being rehabbed. They're being upgraded. Okay. A lot of the downtown area that we used to go to, when I first started going to Selma, they have commercial vendors, meaning that they have corporate vendors because they know the significance of Selma. Now, the short story is this: when other people come in with money and means, they change the flavor of what's going on, meaning that instead of putting the emphasis on what really sparked this whole thing off with the killing of the brother in Marion County, and then with the governor saying that if you walk across that bridge by any means necessary, we're going to order the National Guard, the state troopers, and everybody to knock you off that bridge. Now, I'm not talking about what just water hose was a light way of doing it. Okay?
And with the struggle that the rebuttal that our ancestors encountered back during then, and when when it was turned up, they came back again, and so there were sacrifices, and we also like to document our history and remind people of it, because they were strong, you know, and the strength of our people. So there's a lot to be said about that encounter and what happened, and more than, like you said, a vendor or people making money off of it. You know, we don't want to, like you say, get sidetracked, and that's why people like yourself and myself and Fred, we document, and I really appreciate how y'all prepared us on the bus in terms of what to expect, and gave us some good pointers on how to get the most out of being down there. I really enjoyed and appreciated that.
Oh, yes. You know, we weren't able to go inside of the churches. When I was first going to because I went to Selma with different people. Reverend Love would meet at one church, and then at the chapel, the Brown Chapel African Methodist Church, where we gathered, but they was doing some rehabilitation on the facility. Well, when the march was, during the prime, what I call the prime time is when John Lewis was alive. And he was building up the momentum for recognition. They bring all the senators in. You know, I was there when Clinton came. I was there when it was maybe two presidents. I think Clinton and Obama, President Obama. So I've been there with two presidents. And I was there when Hillary was running for president. Well, when you think about it, because new money is coming in, it's actually pushing the people that really performed in the struggle. Not to say that white people didn't do anything for the contributions and forward movement of Black and brown people. But when you look at what's coming forward, they tend to downplay a lot of what happened. Okay. And what I mean by that is the temperament across America. One of the reasons that Bloody Sunday, which it became known as, had to do a lot, even though we're dealing with it today in Russia and the Ukraine. But back in the day, you had John F. Kennedy, and the Russian dictator at that time was Khrushchev. And they would look at how they were treating different people. If you ever remember people talk about you don't want to go to Siberia. Well, Siberia was a place that they sent you if you violated Russian rules. Well, believe it or not, John F. Kennedy, the president of the United States, had to deal with a conversation that he had with Khrushchev about how they treated their people. Now, this goes fast forward to the people in Ukraine today. Mm-hmm. But they were talking about the people in Alabama. And this is what happened. Television cameras, and this is Bloody Sunday, captured the brutal assault and brought it to millions of American and foreign homes. Significantly, ABC, the American Broadcasting Company, interrupted its telecast of a program called Judgment at Nuremberg. Mm-hmm. Okay? This was a film about the persecution of Nazi war criminals to show the events in Selma, Alabama.
Okay?
Which became known as Bloody Sunday. Over the next 48 hours, demonstrations was held all around the United States. Okay? Now this brought momentum. So when now Dr. King really was supposed to be in that march, the first march.
Yeah.
But because of divisions and things of that nature, he conflicts of interest, he wasn't able to get there. Now the second march that they did, they had National Guard. They didn't have the Alabama trooper that was on the bridge shooting and water hosing people down. But when you look at it, the history of Selma, this is why it's critical that we do what we call word to ear teaching. Because a lot of the things get lost. Because one of the probably the bad things, and when we talk to people in Selma, some people say, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to say nothing. Because either people don't want to be reminded of the torture, and being that a lot of us are humble people, we don't want to be like we're a superstar. So a lot of times somebody else steps in and tells the story.
And sometimes I think people feel like there are consequences, for speaking up. What do you say to that?
Well, and this clearly puts out white supremacy, because white supremacy is so prevalent, especially in the South. When you look at Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, a lot of these places, that was the way. Jim Crow was a way of life. Okay, so anytime you went against a way of life, you paid a heavy consequence.
Yeah.
See, today you can say, blank the president. I don't want to do this. Well, as a black person in the United States of America, you couldn't say nothing like that. You could not even look a white person in the eye like this without some type of retribution, punishment.
Yeah.
You could lose your job. Yeah. You could be killed. You could be hurt, maimed, whatever. So, believe it or not, that is still, until that generation just phases out, that is still in the back of a lot of black minds. So that's why you have people that are afraid to come forward and share stuff.
Yeah, and like you say, it still exists today. But that's why people like yourself and I, and some of the major reporting agencies, that's why we do because we go out and we search and we ask questions, and we find people that, in spite of, is willing to stand up and tell the truth and to tell the story and to unveil, what happened. So, more power to the people,
Oh, always power to the people. Yeah. And when you think about it, I got a banner behind me that says, hold up your own end. Okay. That was created and it's by the Honorable Fred V. Man Watson. But the whole point is this: no matter where we are, we have to hold up our own end.
Yes.
Okay, if you don't make something important, then nobody else will, or they don't feel obligated to. If you want somebody else to tell your story, you'll see your story being told on the television.
Mm-hmm. So
And
let
when you
me ask
see it
you.
on the
Go. I'm sorry. Go
what's
ahead.
that?
No, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Well, what I'm saying, when you see your story being told, not to say that Selma the movie didn't do his due diligence, but the backstory, okay? When you see your story, your history being told by other people, that's why we need people like yourself, people like Miss Adrian, people, producers that tell the story, because we're closer to the people we talking about. So when we're closer to the people we talking about, we'll tell a better story. See, I can't tell a story and make myself a hero, because guess what? There's gonna be so many people that look like me, that know me, that'll say, "Drummer, you know that's not true."
Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay, so that's
mm-hmm.
an accountability factor. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and that's why I enjoyed you all's presentation of the pilgrimage down there, because also, I know last time I was down there, I asked a question, and I didn't get a chance to ask as many questions this time as I normally would have. But I asked people,
Mm-hmm.
in going down, did they have a plan to get as much as they can out of their pilgrimage down there? And I know that, with us on the bus, you all gave us some tips and insight in terms of what to do. Take pictures, meet people, ask questions. You don't know who you might see and be with. You know,
Ooh,
because
yes.
going down there is more than just going and partaking of whatever entertainment or the big crowds and seeing I walk across the bridge. But
Right.
go ahead. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
So.
you made me think, brother Zach. Now you bring not just the camera, but you bring a voice, a singing voice. One of the ladies, and she's from my hometown. Her name is uh the freedom singer, Rutha Harris. She's still alive.
Okay.
Uh, but the songs, because when you look at Selma, like I said again, they had an HBCU down there. These are
Mm-hmm.
young people that, because the people that work, their jobs were directly tied to white people.
Uh-huh.
So they couldn't be out there marching. They couldn't be out there. So you had young people out there marching. That's why you got a lot of people that are still alive, because they were 17, 18, 19 years old. Even John Lewis himself was a young man. Well, I don't know if we got that footage, but you were singing some songs. You got a good voice, my brother. You remember the lady, uh, you know, we was, because what, I can't think, matter of fact, my mind goes, ain't gonna turn around. We
Uh-huh.
ain't gonna let nobody,
Yes. Uh-huh.
I
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
all those were songs. They was like chants. They were kind of like rap songs
Uh-huh.
today,
Uh-huh.
because they motivated young people
Uh-huh.
to get into the groove.
Yeah.
We ain't
Yeah.
gonna let nobody turn us around.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
All that type stuff. And
Wh-
we sing a lot of those songs while we was walking across the Edmund, and that's Edmund Pettus Bridge.
And not only
Uh,
as we walked across the bridge, but it was hot and we had to wait, through protocol, and it got a little antsy out there. People get impatient,
oh,
and there was a lady, a Caucasian lady next to me, and I think I started singing, and then she started singing, and I said, myself, she can sing. She said, he can sing, and then we
yeah.
started singing in harmony. This thing, pockets all over that big all over the streets out there, coming up with songs and things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
hey, can you hum one of those songs for us?
Well, I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah. But you was very inspirational. And see, every time we go down, we made history.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yes, this time because the vice president Kamala Harris was there.
Uh-huh.
You had a lot of politicians that looked and saw the crowd, and they said, "You know what? It's a good time for me to get up on this podium and yap."
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the crowd was
right.
getting frustrated because they had so many politicians
Yeah,
and other people talking, just
yeah,
talking.
yeah.
And but guess what? There was no violence. We
No,
maintained that heat, and a couple people fell out. You know, heat uh deprivation or sunstroke, whatever. They could not take
right.
the
Yeah,
heat. And we had prepared the people on our bus because we told them, oh, there's some footage there, Honorable John Lewis.
yeah,
Oh yes, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. You know,
yeah,
uh on that bridge. Uh and Bloody Sunday, I really once I went down and saw the bridge and everything, I had a different there he is right there. I had a different
yeah. That's us
respect.
on the, yeah, that's the bridge, and
Oh
there
yeah,
we
there we
are.
go. Wow.
Oh man,
Yeah,
it
that's
was
Fred right
wonderful.
there. Oh man.
It was beautiful. Yeah, and you all did a
Mm.
great job. I tell you, you all did a great job in terms of entertaining us, uh,
Uh,
hearing us. It was just really nice.
yeah. And the young people, because we had people from Morris Brown and Clark, and they were excited about going down. Some people, we had a bunch of first timers, and just the history of seeing, and we played trivial, uh, you know, Selma trivia.
Yeah.
And we went over a lot of different questions and different things. This young man, Morris Brown, is right there. Oh yes, brother, right there. Oh man.
Yeah, he and his wife, they were by themselves, and they were going down. We was at the restaurant having
Uh,
lunch when I got a picture of
ooh,
him. The
yes,
guy, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
And
Uh,
I really have to take time and give you your props for engaging people, especially at the restaurant. You engaged them, and y'all was able to talk about uh, the HBU and the spirit and Morris Brown, and they really was receptive to what you were saying, and you all were able to uh, really connect on the things we're talking about.
yeah. Well, young people, I know sometimes we say young people sleeping, young people don't care, young people ain't got a clue, young people are doomed. But that's our future. You know what? 40 years from now, my memories will be gone. But I think the experience that we brought to those young people, and we had about 20 young people on the bus, they're going to continue. If only one continues, that puts us, in a position so that they can make things happen. And going back to word to ear history telling, they
Uh-huh.
can keep and maintain the story that is necessary to remember the pilgrimage to Selma, Alabama, and its importance when it comes down to voting. That's fast forward even up to today when it comes down to all our elections, when it comes down to even the nomination of the current nomination of the Supreme Court Justice.
Yeah, and I encourage anybody, all people, not only just our people, to take these type of trips to these type of commemorations and pilgrimages, so that we can help to not only remind people and they be a part of the documentation. Also helps us to, in terms of uh, how we, what we present, because again, we can slip, and it'll be just about a good fun trip going down and big crowds, but it helps when you can talk to people, and it just helps me to sharpen my perspective that I like to bring to these types of commemorations.
Yes. And it's up to us. And we encourage people, we say Black history is 365 days out of the year. Okay. One of the things finishing up February, which is Black History Month, thinking Dr. Carter G. Woodson for that creation and getting us there, but it was designed to focus on the contributions of Black and brown people here in America. Just so that we could, when people say, well, we do isolated things, we say Markham, Marcus, Malcolm, and Martin. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in order to embrace the multi-talented people that we have within our culture, we have to constantly do things like this, remind ourselves of many other events and activities and the history of those events and activities. We can't expect other people to tell our story.
Yeah.
Okay. If I had to tell the story about you, Zach, I would make myself the hero. I'd be the lion. I'd be the hunter. And a hunter will never tell a correct story. It's just like a guy go fishing. I went fishing a couple years ago and I didn't catch nothing. But when I got back, I was telling people, y'all, man, I caught fish. We cooking everything I caught. I was lying.
Yeah.
You see? But to make myself look good, I didn't want to tell nobody I didn't catch nothing.
Yeah.
But these are the things that we have. That these are the things that we have for people that we have to look at, because we can't put ourselves in position where somebody else tells our story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look here. Do you remember the first interview that you and I did when we got off the bus?
You might have to bring me up to speed. Now, run my mouth so much, Zach.
I know. Well, we engaged the youth, the children, young folks, young folks.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And then I tell you, when I think about some of the memorable things while I was down there, I think about that. I think about the Asian woman that you was talking to, and we got.
Oh yeah.
What did you think about her?
Yeah. Well, now think about it. And this is why it's important that we tell the story, because even though she was married to a Black man, her introduction and her wanting to be there, okay? Because, see, the complexion of Selma is changing. One of the things that Dr. King did back in the day, he told all America to come down to Alabama, okay? Now, it would have been bigger if he had social media and all those things like what we got today. But he told people to come down and walk with him. Well, a lot of foreign people, their introduction to our history is sometimes told by somebody else.
That's right.
Okay? But because she was married to a Black man and he shared some things with her, and she was able to come in and she's integrated into the Selma, Alabama atmosphere, she was able to look at it not just as a foreigner that says, I don't know what y'all doing, but she knew why we were doing what we were doing.
What did she say? Because she started talking to us. What did she say? What did she say?
Well, one of the things she did say something about the politicians and she had been, that was her first time there, but she was saying she knew a little bit about the history of why they called it Bloody Sunday.
Well, actually, she said that she was a teacher at some type of school, and that in that country, she don't know much. She said, but we do have heard about some of his speeches, I had a dream, and that was the extent of what she knew and understood.
Mm.
But the first
Right.
thing she said to us was, "Am I the only Asian here?" She said, "I'm the only
Yeah.
Asian here, ain't
Yeah.
I?" She said,
Oh,
"Ain't I?"
yeah.
And I
Well,
thought she was very adventurous. I thought she was very adventurous, and I really enjoyed
yeah.
talking to her. And I think,
Yes.
and also you mentioned about somebody that's telling the story. What did she say to us about? Uh, she said, "Oh, you all don't fight and whatever. Like I heard, and carry on like I heard y'all do.
Oh,
You remember that?
right. Well, yes. Well, again, uh, if you allow the hunter to tell the story, which is our case, is mostly the Caucasian male,
Mm-hmm.
because people can say, well, I don't know why they down there
Mm-hmm.
walking and marching across that bridge. I don't know why they always say police are, causing them harm. I don't know why they say they can't get jobs. I don't know why they say, well, when people actually get an opportunity to meet, and this is why exchange between people is critical, because I developed compassion when I hear your story. When we started to talk to her about why we were going down and what we were doing, it opened her up.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And really, there were some more Asian people there. She just didn't know it. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't either.
Right. But in her mind, because she had never been to a function such as that,
Right, she hadn't. Yeah.
and because um of what she had been told, and even a teacher. Now, this is an educator. She's an educator.
But she
Okay,
came. But she came
she came.
to. She came to
Right.
experience and to find out, and she
Yes.
wasn't
Yes.
afraid. And I thought she was very adventurous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And well, you got to have an open mind.
Yeah.
Anytime for instance, if you ever go to a foreign country, I remember going the first time I ever went to a foreign country. I was, I'd been to Canada, but I had never been across the water.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they would tell you something about the culture of people. They tell you this or that or this or that. Well, now I didn't understand then because I was younger, but I was looking for the people to behave just like they told me they
Mm-hmm.
would behave.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Now, if it was something good, some country we go to, they said these people, they expect you to dress nice, smell good, yada, yada, yada. Some countries, they would say, and I noticed the temperament they would put out, especially when it was more brown countries, they say, you got to be careful. These folk will take from you. They'll hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had to take it upon myself to walk amongst the people and find the culture of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found the culture of the people, I don't care where it is, whether it was France or I go someplace, they would, and I'm not gonna call the country. Well, just say Italy. They said, well, Italy, they really don't like black people. Now, if I went on just that, I wouldn't have went anywhere in Italy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But when I went to Italy, where it was Gaeta, Naples, or any of those countries, I had a ball. And
Mm-hmm.
the people embraced me. But if I went on what somebody told me about those places, I would have just sucked in the stereotype. And I think that's what happened with her and so many others. They were able to see for themselves that we are very respect, and believe it or not, there was no incidents in Selma during that time period.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think we uh, should get from the effort and sacrifice back during then? And they are emulated these days as well. And there have been some big marches and things. But what do you think we uh, need to do today and going forward to be effective in our, um, struggle for uh, equal rights and justice? And you know, any thoughts
Um,
on that?
well, that's a good question. Well, and I have to use a very conservative president that said this, Ronald Reagan. Freedom ain't free.
Right.
Okay? And you
Yeah.
got to fight for freedom
That's right.
every day.
That's
We
right.
take things for granted. For instance, believe it or not, black folk been voting since 1863. Well, let me take that back. 1865. After the Emancipation Proclamation, black males could vote. There was a period called Reconstruction that people don't even talk about. For 10 years, black males were allowed to vote. We had governors, believe it or not, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee. That's why when they say he's the first black person to hold a position in the Senate since Reconstruction. Okay? So
Mhm.
so now think about anything that we don't fight for on a regular daily basis can be removed. Okay? They can,
So let,
if you don't stay steady on it, because sometimes we say, man, every time I see them, they talking about voting. Every time I see them, they talking about this, talking about that. This country, if you don't keep your thumb on the button, they will forget about whatever it is that you're doing. Whether it's civil rights, whether it's the right to vote, senior citizens, or anybody, you have to fight for your rights. And it doesn't mean a gun battle. It means through your power to vote. Because right now, when people listen to the sister Miss Jackson being screened by those 11 people and 6 or 7 Republicans, they have to think, okay, I'm glad I did put somebody in office that was fair and just. Because if you don't have a fair and just person representing you, guess what? You could be back in pre-construction years, meaning that black and brown people, whether it be Jim Crow laws, they could put all that stuff back in effect, and they're doing that now. They're suppressing people's vote, they're gerrymandering, redrawing districts, putting black and brown people at a disadvantage when it comes down to things that they should normally get. Because if we don't fight for those things, guess what's going to happen? Somebody else going to get them.
well, this uh reporting and this reporting me makes me go back. You gave an example, but I like us to throw up a couple more examples. When we talk about fight, and right away you said it don't mean just physical fight, but you said it means voting. Let's toss up a couple more things that that means fight in our struggle. When you say fight, what kind of things are we talking about? I like to add that one of the things that that the powers to be seem to know is that in terms of things that we struggling for, they just kind of wait long enough, put us on hold long enough that we'll give up on it. So we got
Ooh,
to, and we got to. So
well,
go ahead.
well, that's why I use Ronald Reagan. He said, freedom ain't free.
Mm-hmm.
You got to fight for your freedom
Mm-hmm.
every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. That means
Mm-hmm.
that if anything comes up, you should be on it. You should be thinking about it. You should be having an opinion about it. We
Mm-hmm.
dip our heads in the sand and cover our ears and get pacified by people that don't have our best interest. Guess what? We lose. Now, case in point, um, uh, voting. Now, sometimes people say voting don't matter, voting don't count, voting ain't gonna change nothing. Now, when you hold the people that you elect responsible and accountable, you can get some results. Okay, but that takes follow up. Once you find somebody to vote for, you got to focus on them, you got to follow up, and you got to finish until they finish their job
Yeah.
that you want done. So that means
And,
we got to put some stuff in there. And I think about Dr. Francis Wilson, and she said one of the things that Black and brown people have to do in different areas, we have to recognize white supremacy. There are things that are built in that can keep you down if you don't do anything about it.
well, I
And
want
you'll
to keep
look at yourself.
I want to I
Go
want to
ahead.
keep it rolling. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to keep you rolling on that. So let me ask you this: what about realizing and voting in those elections that makes a difference on ground level in our everyday life? And
Oh, local,
you know,
local.
voting for judges, voting for state
Yeah.
representative, voting for talk to me about that.
Well, local elections, school board. We shouldn't wait every 4 years to vote. School boards, mayors, city council people, judges, state attorney generals, uh, anybody that's up for election, and you should vote. You can run for office. If you don't like what somebody's doing, you can qualify and run for office. We should not allow somebody else to dictate to us what should be happening in our community. Believe it or not, the president really doesn't affect us that much.
Right.
Okay?
That's
The
right.
people that affect us are the people we elect, senators. You know, right now in Georgia, we got the 2024 elections coming up. Governor, what's that? Lieutenant governor, state senator. Okay, those are people when it comes down to selecting the president can select a Supreme Court judge, but at the same time, that Supreme Court judge has to go between the House, the Senate, and they put some folk in front of them to either qualify them or don't qualify them. So we have to be clear in our lowest election. Anybody you can vote for. You just don't not vote. These people determine if your roads get paid. These people determine if your property taxes go up. These people determine who and where they will build schools. If you don't see a school in your neighborhood, that's an indicator that your neighborhood is going to be on the chopping blocks.
Another area, civically involved.
What, physically?
Civic, CIVIC, civically involved.
Oh yeah, your civic duty. As Black and brown people, we have to be in control of ourselves, our families, and our communities. It's your civic duty to take care of your community. We can start with simple things, keeping your community safe. It's not up to the police to keep your community safe, okay? You can maintain your community just like they do in Buckhead or anywhere else. You can control the actions and efforts of whether it be criminal activity. And we have to be clear in making sure that those, whether it be the churches, civic groups, fraternities, or whatever, walking through our neighborhoods and making our neighborhoods safe. That's our civic duty.
And a person might ask, well, what do what y'all talking about have to do with Selma? Well, once we've gone down and commemorated, the struggles that our ancestors had and the sacrifices back during then we got to come back and plan and how we can take advantage of the position that they put us in. And that's why I'm bringing up these type of things. And let me ask you this. What about being prepared and educated?
Oh, it's critical. We have to do our own homework. One of the things America has done is America is not going to tell you nothing. Okay? They're not going to tell you, they only tell you what they want you to know. So we have to do our due diligence and understand our relationship to America. If you look at the Constitution of the United States of America, people that come to this country, they look at the Constitution and they base everything that they have on that document, that piece of paper. But as black and brown people, we look at that piece of paper as not for us.
Mhm.
Okay?
Okay.
Well, we got the same, this is like the Bible, the Quran, or any of those holy books. We have to read ourselves into the Constitution of the United States of America. We've been here for 400 some years. Okay? If anybody's entitled to what's in that Constitution, it's us.
Okay.
But if you think less of yourself based on what other people are saying to make you feel inferior, you won't even look at that document as being your document.
One more question, and I'm open to moving to another area. But
Okay.
are there areas in which we should be committing ourselves, committing our funds and our time and talents? Are there areas that maybe we can do
Oh, yeah.
a lot better
Yeah.
in?
We have to commit ourselves to ourselves, our family, our community, our businesses, our churches, organizations, not just to be there, but to hold them accountable. We have to be more accountable people. We have to be more accountable to ourselves. I think one of the things that I'm going to say this real quick. Dr. Francine Wilson said, in order for black and brown people to get the best out of this particular system or any other system, we have to isolate ourselves and remove ourselves from what we currently being taught. One thing, we have to minimize, we have to put a war team together, a group. That it might take 20 years. That means that we have to rethink and reteach ourselves how are we going to do this. One, we have to stop doing crimes against each other. Two, we have to determine that we're not going to have our communities looking bad. We can take care of, I don't care if it's the projects or whatever you live at, you can maintain and clean those places up. Number three, we have to get off of anything that's crippling us, whether it be drugs, alcohol, sex, or any of that type stuff. Okay. Number four, we have to take economic direction, meaning that we have to figure out ways to create money. It doesn't have to be money. We can be just like the Quaker. We can generate our own economy within our own community based on the talents, efforts of black and brown people. And then, even without the government, we can do all those things without government intervention. Now, sometimes we say it's fearful, the government's going to come and take it all from us. But if you're generating for yourself, you're creating things for your people, and you're building stronger communities, and you're able to protect yourself, you'll be able to sustain yourself in this, economy.
And those kind of things that when I go to pilgrimage and commemorations like we go to in Selma, or
Mhm.
Morris Ford Bridge or any of these places, and to meet people and share what I think and get motivated and see what they're doing toward the struggle and what I'm doing and compare notes, so that's an avenue that we can go down more. Uh, 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 in addition to going down and enjoy the crowds and the vendors and walk across the bridge, but and there's been in times in past days that there wasn't the mode of communication that we have now,
Right.
and so so when there was a big event, people get together and they talk and they share and they tell you what been going on with them and their experiences and whatever. And so like this, that's one of the things that we all are not lack in terms of communicating with each other about what each other's doing and getting whatever information we can to do better in our struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, Brother Zach, we got to come back again. But I think our challenge is we have to begin to tell our own story. This is part of staying ready, being ready, and always being on point. If we don't put the time in to help ourselves, help our families, and help our communities, nobody else is going to do it. Okay? You're going to be cut off. You're going to be put in a position of compromise, and whoever comes, they won't have your best interest in mind. Okay? They're going to have another agenda, and then you're gonna be behind. For lack of a better term, you're gonna be behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
Everybody gonna be pumping you into the hole, and then you're gonna wonder how you got there. That's why it's critical as Black and brown people. We educate ourselves, we educate our families, and we educate our communities. We must train, inform, mobilize, and empower ourselves to be who we are. But well, I got to bring you back, Zach. Any contact information that you want to put out that people can get in touch with you?
Well, anybody want to get in contact with me can get in contact with me. I encourage people to watch, any of my presentations that I post, but my name is Zachary Simpson, and my phone number is 404-316-9573, and my email is godremembersme@bellsouth.net.
Okay. Well, thank you, my brother, and thank our producer, Miss Adrian, for the producer with the mostest over here at Square Mile Media. Yes. And hope you join us next week. We're gonna be talking about real estate, buying some dirt.
All right.
Everybody should have some dirt. After you get your freedom, you need to buy some dirt. That's the first thing Black and brown people did after getting out of from the Emancipation Proclamation. They had the ability to buy land. Okay. So with that being said, we'll see you next week. Same bad channel, same bad time. And remember this: the secret of walking on water, just knowing where the rocks are, and stay ready at all times. Okay.
All right.